Hey everybody, Stu Smith here. It is 9 o'clock on Monday morning, East Coast time. That means it's time for a live Q&A and a little discussion. This one, I wanted to take you back to an article. If you want to read the whole article, you can go into the description of this, at least on my YouTube channel. I think it's also on my Facebook page as well. But it's called Beware of the things that can end your spec ops journey before it even starts. And what that means is a long variety of things. Everything from not being prepared physically, academically, medically, having your paperwork all squared away. I mean, all these things can definitely delay or maybe even cause you to be rejected for uh, military service, even not just say in spec ops level um, screening that is required a lot of times, whether it's vision or color blindness or depth perception. A lot of those things that can get you, if you have them, you can get into the military, but there's many spec ops programs that you can't. Unfortunately, this happens to many candidates along the way, and their dreams are shot before they've even done their first push up on the PST. Um, on that note, you need to be able to crush the PST. Like if you're going into the recruiter's office and you're saying, "What's the physical fitness test?" First of all, stupid question. Second of all, probably means you've never even practiced it before, which you're already behind the eight ball. You're going to go take that first fitness test and you're going to be there with people who are crushing that thing. And you're going to literally say to yourself, I am out of my league. Or if you don't, you're not watching, you're not paying attention. Um, and all that is just your lack of preparation that caused you to be in that situation. And even if you did take the time to crush that PST, maybe it took you 6 months in delayed entry program to get to that level. You've probably gotten good at taking the PST because you had to take it 2 or 3 times a month. Finally passed it, but you're really not ready for 2 mile ocean swims or 4 mile timed runs or rucking or other load bearing activities because you've only been spending time crushing the PST. Um, that's not enough. You need to put in the time so you can crush the PST and you don't have to waste any more time focusing on the PST. That's just like minimum standard for you. Then you can focus on getting through the training on those specific things. That's where most people screw up. However, there are some other places too. Um, they just change their mind. They quit. Um, Nothing wrong with that. Nothing. I would rather somebody say, you know what, this really wasn't for me. I needed to find something else. Great. I've seen guys, start off in the pipeline of like spec ops level and then make a sharp right and say, you know what, I'm going into the fleet and I'm going to do this. I'm like, cool, man, go for it. And next thing you know, 30 years later, I'm looking at that dude and he's an admiral. That's pretty damn amazing, right? That he is serving that long in any capacity. So those are things too, just change your mind. Injuries, just unfortunate. However, some of them are preventable. And a lot of them are caused by you being stupid. I mean just all of us, because we either overtrain and we get injured and get some nagging injuries where it stops us from training. But these are really important about 6 months out from you shipping to go to boot camp or to go through OCS and go to BUDS or wherever you are in the way to get to BUDS pipeline. Here are some things I would recommend. 6 months out, I would say if you're still playing contact sports, rugby, football, lacrosse, you might want to pull back on those a little bit, or give yourself 6 months afterwards before your timeline matches, right? Because if you have a timeline set for, my last rugby game is here, and then I go to Buds a week later, chances are you're going to be nursing some injuries along the way. Contact sports, martial arts, I've seen a lot of dudes, whether it's jujitsu, boxing, MMA, wrestling, even, have, torn joints, ankles, wrists, broken hands from punching. You know, all of those are just disqualifiers or delayers in your progress. And you're going to have to get some surgery. You're going to have to be delayed another 6 months. It just doesn't match a smart timeline if you're doing stuff like that. Even long distance running events. I've seen guys run 50 to 100 miles on a gut check whim. Next thing you know, they're not running for like 4 months because they got a stress fracture in their hip. Even seen guys need hip surgery. Also seen guys with triathletes that were heading out on the bike, going in traffic. What happens when you ride a bike in traffic? Some dummy's going to hit you, and you're going to crash, or you can just crash. Anyway, if you want to do triathlons, my suggestion is, or at least you want to do triathlon training, maybe not actually compete in a triathlon. 6 months out, try biking on a stationary bike. I personally think stationary bikes are harder anyway. And the final thing here I just want to share is not taking your life seriously. So if you're out there training for any selection program and you have you're not sleeping, you're not eating well, you're not you're out partying every Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and you're all hung over on Sunday and you got to start training again, you're not really taking it seriously, right? At some point, you need to take this seriously because that stuff is just really wrecking your ability to recover and see progress. And, you need to take your stuff seriously. That's the key. At some point, you need to, if you're going to drink in very minor amounts. When I say moderation, I mean 1 or 2 max. Otherwise, you're just going to start really showing the signs of overtraining. Not even by overtraining, just by under recovering. So, anyway, check out that article. It's 4 things that can end your Spec Ops journey before it starts. I think the actual title is Beware Things That Can End Your Journey Before It Even Starts. In fact, I'll put the link in the comment section here. You guys can check that out later if you so choose. But we can take some questions. Tomorrow I'll be back here at 9, and we're going to do a live Q&A, but also a CSS critique. So if you have any CSS videos you want me to critique, send them. Happy to check them out and comment on them and see what we can fix. All right, so I'm going to start your Phase 4 Hell Week program. Yeah, that's a tough one. That's probably one of the hardest workouts I've ever created. Mainly just because it's basically like the first 4 weeks of Buds. Bunch of workouts, 3 a days. I mean, it's and then as a little Hell Week simulator. I mean, you're getting wet and sandy and doing crazy stuff. So it's not necessarily something you want to do right before you ship. Do I think it's a good idea to have an active recovery week before basic? Yeah, if you're going to do that, yeah, you definitely want some recovery time. But, to be honest with you, basic training or boot camp in the Navy is a recovery 10 weeks, right? It's so much of a recovery, you're going to get deconditioned. I mean, you may run 10 miles in 10 weeks. So just be prepared to get out of shape, right? But you can definitely work out on your own, do some extra calisthenics. The days are long. You're not going to feel like it. My suggestion is just wake up early, get a quick 30 minutes of push-ups and sit-ups and flutter kicks and lunges and squats. Just get something going. In the days when you're sitting through presentations, just stand up in the back of the room. If you feel like you're going to fall asleep, drop down, do some push-ups. Stand back up, go to the bathroom, do some more push-ups. Find a pull-up bar, do some pull-ups. I would recommend doing laundry duty because evidently there's some big poles back there that hangs up laundry that you can mix in some pull-ups. But you gotta fit it in whenever you can. So yeah, many people get sick. Try not to get sick. And it's not sick from overwork or under recovery. It's sick from every germ in the United States is now living under one roof, and you just got to stay clean. Basically, treat it like it's COVID, and just keep your hands washed. Don't touch your face. Um, I doubt you'll be wearing masks, but I wonder if those help. I don't know. Um, but your number one goal is to try not to get sick, and I know that's a really tough challenge, but everybody's going to get a cold. The only thing you want to do is avoid um, getting deeper into it, like it's getting into your lungs, so you're getting bronchitis or pneumonia, things like that, because those are really hard to bounce back from when you start training again at prep and before prep. So consider that pretty serious. Do you think it's best to go tier 1 unit that is a peacekeeper country, Ireland, or go French Foreign Legion and go tier 2 unit that will be forward deployed and utilized? I don't know, be honest with you. I would say if it's your country, I would probably stay in your country first. You'll feel more loyalty to that. Um, it's good training. Regardless that you're coming out with some really good skills, and you never know, might need it one day. My suggestion would be to stay in your country, do what you can, get qualified, and then if you're still not satisfied, maybe try a Foreign Legion option. Good question though. My left thigh is uncorrectable to 2020. This qualifies me for most spec ops. Do you know what eye standards are for Army Rangers? Google hasn't been helpful. I don't know, to be honest with you. I know you can wear glasses, in Army Rangers. I just don't know what the actual standards are to get correctable or what you can't uncorrect. Does that make sense? Yeah, I don't have that one off the top of my head. Yeah, I'll try to look that one up as well today and see what I can find. Something I am working on. Oh wait, I think I missed a question here. Do you have a go-to nutrition diet plan for your candidates who had a lot of weight to lose, or simply have them go on a caloric deficit, count calories? Well, you say simply, but it's not that simple. Yes, you need to be in a caloric deficit, but that is really hard to do. It requires a lot of discipline. It may, the way I like to do it is, take a look at what everybody's eating, just have them write it down, because we tend to be creatures of habit. And if you just write down everything you put in your mouth for a week, it's probably going to be pretty similar to what you do week to week, for the most part. There may be some differences, but um, and then take a look at portions and see if you are eating well first. When take out any junk, um, processed foods, sugars, stuff like that that are just high calories and not helpful. Um, and then from there, see if it's more an issue of portion control or if it's an issue of just you needing to change your actual dietary habits and quit eating Big Macs and donuts. But it really kind of depends on the person. My biggest thing is work out really hard and watch your portions. So you're burning a lot of calories and you are um, eating fewer calories. So it's those two, you can't go wrong and do it. Something I like to try to do is have like an extra 500 calories that I'm burning at the end of the day and have an extra 500 calories that I'm not eating at the end of the day. Right. And if you can pull that off, um, you may actually have a pretty big deficit there at the end of each day, which will result in probably a pound and a half a week. So you can see it's, even if you added it up, you're probably 1,000 calorie deficit. It's still pretty tough to lose a lot of weight fast, unless it's water weight, which I can lose 7 pounds in a workout just about. Juan, I didn't get the rest of your question. It got shut off there. I passed PST without training for it. How hard can it be that I'm headed November 30th to boot camp and then pre-buds? Hey, that's good. I mean, that's probably because you've actually been training for it. You've either been working hard and were in shape from your hard work, or you've been playing multiple sports and you've been in great shape for multiple sports. But yeah, everybody's different. I've had some guys that take about 6 weeks, and because of their athletic history, they did 6 weeks, learned how to swim a little bit better and went over to buds and crushed it. But I tell you, if you're not mixing in, 4 mile timed runs, 2 mile swims with fins, treading, some load bearing activities, with sandbags, running with a ruck on the beach, you won't be prepared for the next event. So for you to say how hard can it be is pretty arrogant. So because the hammer's about to fall and you need to be ready for that. Let's see, 12 weeks to buzz was great. Wish I did more running. Yeah, I will tell you that. When I went to buds, I never once wished I'd lifted weights. I never once wished I had done any more swimming. It was for me, I just wish I was a better runner. Running was one of those just things that you just had to find that gut check and get it done. And, I wasn't going to get any faster at buds. It was really just me sucking it up and, you know, working hard. So I was nowhere near the minimum standards. If it was 32 minutes, I was trying to run 27, 28 minutes, so I'm still 4 minutes under. Is EOD a good backup plan if I fail buds? Well, you won't get EOD if you don't have some sweat equity in buds. So what I mean by that is they don't want somebody who quits during prep, right? They want somebody who makes it to Hell Week, maybe a couple of days in Hell Week, and then, if there's something that occurs there, EOD will pick you up. I've seen several guys that, quit during Hell Week that are now EOD guys and crushing it and enjoying it. So the thing is, though, is I would not have a backup plan. I think that screws people up a lot. If you have a plan B that's really comfortable, when you're sitting there wet and sandy and the day is turned into night and there's no end in sight to this evolution that you are doing and it's not even Hell Week yet, you're going to have one of those things of like, how bad do I really want this? EOD's looking pretty good right now, right? I've seen a lot of guys have that plan B float in their head in that situation. And sometimes it's best not to have a plan B. You got one shot and you got to do it. Do you have any experience working with National Guard SF guys? Yes, several. Getting ready to leave for Florida National Guard and working towards that career. Yep. Been doing that for a long time. It's a great option. The cool thing about the National Guard is you go through regular Army SF training pipeline. Now you got to pass some SF weekends at your guard before they send you. And then, when you come back or when you go through the SF pipeline, you do it just like everybody else. And you probably have some options to like, do you want to augment into an active unit right there? Or you can go back and, if they need you, they can say, hey, we need 18 Deltas, right? Or 18 Charlies. And you can augment into an ODA like that. I've seen several guys do that here. In fact, I got one that was an Army officer, active duty. He got out, went National Guard, enlisted, went Army SF, and now he's a police officer. And, he's probably done 2 deployments to Afghanistan, in the last 5 years when the war was going on, and then would come back to his police officer job. All right, let's see. Sort of an odd question. Do you think that is naturally have a warrior mindset before stepping into BUDS training, or is that something that can be taught through training? You definitely need to be aggressive. You may not be a warrior mindset and think tactically yet, because those things can definitely be taught, but being aggressive, like, in sports or, other activities, never quitting, pushing yourself, those are types of things that, also apply to a warrior mindset. But, as you're going through the training and you become more introduced to more tactical processes of the job itself, then you can start applying those very same things of aggression and never quit mentality and, opening your mind to learning new skills. That's all a part of the warrior mindset that you need to have, but I wouldn't worry about it too much if you don't think like a warrior yet. Like you can't plan an op right now. Most people can't, that's any good. Um, so yes and no. Have you seen any changes to prep for AvSpec War versus old NDoc as far as PT goes? With the new name, it sounds like it's getting inspired by MARSOC ANS, or have you changed your workouts for it? Overall, haven't changed a lot of my workouts for it. However, I did add in a new section because, they changed the PASS test, the physical abilities stamina test, I think it used to be. That's the same test, but they gave it a different name. They call it the IFT now, which stands for your initial fitness test. So like the BUDS pipeline, you got to take the PST, and then once you're in the pipeline, you'll never take the PST again. Very similar. You'll take that IFT, Once you're in the pipeline, you'll never take the IFT again because it advances and you now take the OFT, which is the officer fitness test. No, the operator fitness test. Sorry. In fact, I've written about that a lot. Um, in fact, you can see if you Google um, AFSW Stu Smith. I've created some good articles in there, comparing it to Spec War, Navy Special Warfare. I would say it's gotten very similar um, to basically all the Spec Ops units. Check out this one too. This is pretty good. Put a couple articles in the thing for you, but I would say the unique thing about Air Force Special Warfare, ANS, and what they have done in the last 10 years is that they have taken all the best practices of Navy Special Warfare, MARSOC, Army SF, and really created their own prep and pipeline assessment and selection process. And I think it's great. If you're looking at being a special operator and you're not sure where you want to go, I would seriously entertain the Air Force Special Warfare pipeline because it is good. Put it this way, I have a 20-year-old son, and if he says he's thinking about serving, I would say take a look at this pipeline and check it out because it is, like I said, it's got a lot of the best practices of all the SOCOM units. So I'm a big fan. Check out those articles, IFT and OFT. In fact, I've written an article, IFT, OFT, Stu Smith. By the way, that's what I just Googled, by the way. In fact, I did a podcast on it too. Changes to AF Special Warfare. In fact, I'm going to put this link because it's up on YouTube. And it was a previous Tuesday morning live Q&A. And all I did is the title is changes in Air Force Special Warfare past, now IFT and OFT. So I talk about it a little bit in the pre-show to the live Q&A. You can check that out as well. Dylan, you are correct. Let's see. Morning, sir. I am currently active duty in the Navy and putting in a package tryout for SWIC. Excellent. What advice would you recommend for someone who has a tight schedule like mine that wants to obviously serve in SWIC? You know what? I just wrote an article for military.com. And there's a couple things. In fact, it is titled, Try This Time-Saving Workout That Can Help with Dive Rescue Swimmer Training. Can also be, any dive spec ops training. So if you need to work on your swim, it's really geared towards that, but also calisthenics and treading, events like that you will see. My recommendation is just really assess yourself thoroughly. So you know where your runs are, your PT scores are. First of all, crush the PST because that's going to be your ticket into SWIC. You got to be scoring pretty well on that. So that should be your number one focus. If you can't get to a pool very often, you're going to have to do a lot of extra cardio. I would mix that with more running. I'd mix it with biking and rowing, elliptical, whatever you need to do to replace that swimming, you need to do it. And it can't be easy stuff. It's got to be, I am about to die on this bicycle. And, I need to breathe, right? It's because you need to get in really good cardiovascular shape. So when next time you're in the pool, it won't be such a challenge for you. You're still going to need to get in swimming shape, for 500 yards and beyond. But You know, whatever you can do, do. My suggestion is break up your workouts into multiple workouts, like some of the guys that I've worked with that are, in the Navy deploying and things like that, um, or just busy schedules. They, get like 30 or 45 minutes before the day starts. Maybe get their run and the PT done quickly like that. And then during lunch, if they're at a facility where they work and there's a gym, they go get the lift or a swim done during lunch. And then at the end of the day, if they have any juice left, they might top it off with, some easy cardio, um, you know, practice some technique stuff, treading, or just going a long, slow distance run, things like that. Um, that's where I would be. If you want to email me stu@stewsmith.com and give me some specifics to your situation, like time per day, days per week, equipment available. I might be able to help you, juggle that and get that figured out for you. Let's see. I asked my bud at 3rd Battalion about warrior mindset, and he told me to shut up and only worry about my why. Okay, whatever. Hey, everybody has a different opinion. That's one way to talk about it. Thank you. My buddy said this dude has some pipes talking about some of your picks in 12 weeks to buds. Oh yeah. Only had enough time to do 6 weeks of your program before arrival. Ah, gotcha. Let's see. Yep, I already answered that one. Having trouble deciding which SF group to go in. PJ, SEALs, Rangers, Green Berets. It's not uncommon, especially for the younger mind to consider. Um, my suggestion is do this. Couple of two things, right? Do you like water? Right? What I mean by that, do you want to dive? Do you want to swim? Do you want to tread? Right? Water survival skills, stuff like that. Because that's PJs and SEALs, right? I would say half of your training should probably be in the water if you want to do that. If you don't like water and you suck at the water, you might want to consider um, Army options because there's not a whole lot of swimming there. There may be some swimming survival skills in there and some swimming, but not to the capacity that it is in PJs and SEALs. The second one is, and this one was one of my biggest deciding factors, um, is where you would be living once you are finished training. What I mean by that is, first you should know where your basic training is, where your options are, where you might be serving and living, right? If you wanted to be in the SEALs, you're pretty much going to live in Coronado, California, or Little Creek, Virginia Beach. Two beautiful beach towns. And me coming from Florida, I really thought that the Navy was the right answer for me just because every Navy base is a beach town, right? I mean, there may be a few out there that are not, but for the most part, wherever you are serving, you're going to be living in a beach town. That was my almost number one deciding factor of where I wanted to go, Army or Navy. Um, you can look at where Army bases are, where Air Force bases are, and where those units are typically stationed. Not horrible places either. You just have to figure out if you want to, want to live in the mountains. You want to live in middle of North Carolina. Do you want to live in Colorado, which is beautiful? Um, in Washington State. There's a whole bunch of different places where you can live and do these jobs. Southern Georgia. Um, so you figure that out, and maybe that will help you decide. I would tell my kids the same thing. So, where's Leo? Did you ask a dumb question? I don't see it. I don't think that was a dumb question. I thought it was a good one, Leo. Will there be distance events in every upcoming program of yours? Um, yeah, pretty much. I mean, there's always a long swim, a long ruck, fast, medium pace, or fast pace distance run, sort of. I don't usually just run to run like 10 miles or anything. Usually my runs are maybe capped at about 6, but fast. Um, so there's a lot of distance events. Let's see. All right. So something I am working on though for my next program, like this program here is done, the fall transition. It's a good mix of calisthenics and starting to introduce weight training and a little bit of reduction in total mileage, but it's faster mileage. Is my winter lift cycles going to have 3 different types of lifts in it. So probably start off with lighter weight and more reps, and um, maybe every 3 or 4 weeks have a uh, sort of a deload week that takes you back to the previous cycle where you're focused on calisthenics and cardio. So it's a deload week from lifting, but it's a maintenance week for some of the events that you still need to maintain in this lifting cycle, like PST scores, stuff like that. And then the next 3 to 4 weeks will be kind of medium range weight, um, 5 to 10 reps, somewhere in there. Maybe work up towards the end of it, maybe work on like a 5 rep max type thing. Take another deload week, just like before. Come back, and it's going to be a heavier cycle for 3 to 4 weeks where you focus on anywhere from 3 to 1 rep max in the lifts. Um, and then we'll see what the final. So that'll probably get us to like 12 weeks. So it'll probably get us through the whole winter doing that. I may throw a bonus um, 4 week cycle in there just to address some of the post selection operator type tests, where you're going to be deadlifting and agility tests and rucking, some of those things, power throws, kettlebell runs, stuff like that. Uh, let's see. So anyway, that's going to be my winter lift cycle. I am almost done with that. I'll have that done here probably definitely in October. So it'll be ready by December whenever we start our winter lift cycle. But we're going to start our fall transition training next week. So first week of October, we'll take it through late December, and once winter's here, late to mid December, we'll start our winter lift cycle. All right, a few more questions, then I got to go. Got some articles I got to write. If anybody has any good article ideas, send them my way. You can either email me, Stu Smith, or just post them here. I'll go through the questions later. How do you deal with injury recovery at Bud, specifically for Achilles tendonitis? I had a guy that had Achilles tendonitis in my class, and he sucked it up through Hell Week. And then at the end of Hell Week, it was so blown up, it hurt to look at it. I mean, it wasn't like a blister. It was so red and swollen that I couldn't even believe he was even walking on it. But he almost ruptured it, from what the doctor said, and so he was out for 2 classes. Made it through Hell Week, so his green shirt rolled back, and was just rolled back and got time to heal. He came back stronger, crushed the rest of Buds, and rest is history. So I would not. That's a tough one, man. I would try to be recovered from your injury going into buds. Hopefully, you're not having it now and you got to deal with it while you're at buds, because it's not going to get better while you're at buds. Now, you have Saturdays and Sundays to lick your wounds. One thing I would definitely do with Achilles tendonitis is more massaging and foam rolling than I would stretching, because 9 times out of 10, most people injure that tendon by some kind of forceful stretching, overstretching. So if you're constantly pulling at it and stretching, you're just ripping out the healing fibers that are trying to reconnect. So I would try to avoid stretching as much as that's going to suck, because you feel like you just need to stretch it. Just massage it, roll it, and let it heal. But obviously, go to a physical therapist before you take my advice. Heard you can't go to OCS then buds anymore. Well, I know 12 people that are this year, so not sure if your recruiter knows what the hell he's talking about. Yeah, your recruiter's lying to you. That's unbelievable to me that somebody would tell you that. It's a lie. Now, he's probably an enlisted recruiter. You need to go find an officer recruiter if you want to be an officer. There's a difference. Google it. Should I wait 2 to 3 years to train out of high school for SF to be fully prepared? Answer is it depends. I've seen 18-year-olds be fully prepared, right? They are like unicorns, though. Most of them are not. If you're an early bloomer and you're fully grown at 18 years old, um, been an athlete for the last 10 years, pretty mature kid, you can probably do it. However, if you're still light, still haven't grown into your feet and knees, um, I don't recommend it. It is not a boy's game, right? A kid's game, right? It's an adult game, right? It's not even a game, right? It's real. So I personally, statistically speaking, Caden, yes, I would say do something else for the next 2 to 3 years. Go to school, go to work, do both, and just train your ass off. And you're going to see a big difference from the 18-year-old you and the 21, 22-year-old you. I promise you. It's night and day. Not only just maturity wise, but just physically. That is when you really start growing and seeing the results of training. You have a run version of your swim 50-50 workout, like 400s. I do. It's called Running Plan. I should come up with a clever name for it. It's called Running Plan to help you get to and through selection. So where'd it go? I put it here in the comment section here for you. Do you know of any land nav specific prep courses for guys interested in Army SF? What advice training do you prescribe for terrain nav for your SF candidates? You know what? We're lucky around us. We have some orienteering teams that is basically a high school cross country team that does land nav. It's really cool. So they race and try to find points. So they're really good at not only having a course where they do this, but they also have a really interesting teaching method. I've actually had high school kids teach my guys how to do land nav, and they're really good at it. And then we had a retired Navy guy come in and also do it as well. It's easy to teach land nav, but you need to have the course to back it up. Like I can show you how to use a compass and how to use a map and get after it. It's just finding the points and setting it up like that is where it becomes different. But if you Google it, there are a few groups that do help you with land nav. I even think there was even a Go Ruck event recently that was focused on land nav. But if you search land nav courses and teaching programs, you'll find something. Oh no, I didn't take it as that. No, you got to do a lot worse than that to come across as an a-hole for me. Um, Tied to the above, have you had any of your 18 X-ray candidates talk about land nav training and SF prep course? Um, no, they were just glad they knew it beforehand. Um, Everybody's made it through their land nav phases in the prep course and then in the actual selection too. Um, they were just saying, it's a kind of a grind more than anything because you're always rucking doing these land nav courses. But my suggestion is yes, watch some videos, get some training on it, um, and and practice. Did I serve as officer or enlisted? I went to the Naval Academy and graduated as an officer, and then went straight to Buds right after 4 years of the Naval Academy. Just want to say thanks for responding to DM about SARC. Yeah, no problem. Hope that was helpful. Would love to hear your input on training for those weight tests like the ACFT or the OFT using minimal equipment such as sandbag or pull-up bar. Yeah, I have definitely done that already. Um, in fact, if you Google ACFT training Stu Smith, you'll probably find at least a couple of articles. I did one article I wrote on the ACFT pyramid, Stu Smith, and that was really fun. I created this pyramid around the ACFT, and it's called the Army Combat Fitness Test Pyramid with Stu Smith's over on military.com. And this was crazy. It's kind of hard to understand a little bit, um, just because you're at a pull-up bar and you're doing leg tucks. That was when they used to do leg tucks, so I guess you can take those out and put in a plank pose. And then you have to like run with kettlebells to the other area where you're doing deadlifts, and it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun coming up with that, and we actually did it. And I do have some OFT stuff as well. Um, what shoes should I wear when rucking? Boots. Boots are recommended, especially if you're rucking to prepare for a military service. However, if you're just rucking to ruck, just to burn some calories, doesn't really matter. It's just I would wear running shoes if you're on pavement or a dirt road, but if you're going through rough terrain or grass or a field or anything like that, you definitely want some more ankle support. So I would go with um, definitely go with boots. We ruck sometimes on these trails, and there's a lot of roots out there, and I've seen a lot of people, roll their ankle if they're not wearing boots. Yep, big difference between 18 and 22. It is night and day. I'm telling you, night and day. 23 is probably your peak recovery age. I would agree with that in terms of how many hours of sleep you need, joint recovery. Yeah, I went through Buds at 22 and 23. So I turned 23 at Buds, and glad I did. 18-year-old Stu would not have made it through Buds. You know, I was at that time I was trying to lift a truck and run 100 yards as fast as I could, and anything over 100 yards was not needed. Didn't even do it. Got my next Gen 2 en route. Those are boots, right? I'm assuming that's what you're talking about. Nike Combat Gen 2s. Put myself on light duty swimming till October 1st. Damn. Nice. Oh, this is Eric, I think, right? That's a lot of swimming. Um, where would you recommend getting some decent boots for rucking and running, not trying to spend in the hundreds? Good question. First I would go to eBay. Something that I tend to do, and just because I refuse to spend $150 on a pair of running shoes that I might not like, um, is I go to eBay, I try on a pair of shoes, maybe buy them for like 40 bucks instead of 150 bucks, and I try them out. And a lot of times maybe they're worn once or twice. You can look and, worn once or twice, and then um, they didn't fit right, so the person's trying to sell them cheap, and so you can get a really good pair like that. You can do the same thing with boots. Seeing a lot of people, get missized, try to run in them for a week or two, and then they just added too many hot spots. It's kind of a gamble, but I would go there and then see if you can maybe find some coupon codes for who's ever selling them. Um, Gen 2s are lighter than the Bates. Yeah, I have felt both, and Gen 2s are like running shoes that look like boots. Bates are better than the jungle boots that were really heavy and had nothing to do with the shoe. I would say Bates, or I would call them like, you know, air boots, whereas the um, Nikes are probably more geared towards running than anything else. In fact, they're probably not as over durable as some of the other boots that are out there, and they probably will you'll probably run through them quicker because you're running in them versus walking around working and using them for ops and things like that. So I'm not sure how durable they are in the long term. Like I had a pair of Vietnam jungle boots for 20 years, and those things were crazy durable. They sucked to run in, but they were they were very durable. All right, couple more questions. Let's see. Let's see. I was 19, my first shot at buds. Maturity wasn't there, neither physically or mentally. I could do damage, but wasn't fully developed. Yeah, it's an age old story. Teenagers at buds. I remember showing up at buds and there were like 100 teenagers in my class, and then like 3 weeks later there were five. And I think we had about three made it through Hell Week and graduated. So it's not the way to go, statistically speaking. Like when you hear about the attrition rate, it's mostly teenagers. Every now and then you get some older guys that are part of the attrition rate, and maybe even some guys that are 20, 22. But if you look at it statistically, teenagers make a bulk of that for sure. It is a great source of undesignated seamen in the Navy. So there you go. All right, folks, that is all I got. Tomorrow we will be doing some CSS critiques. Get your critiques into me. If you go to my TikTok page, nothing but, or you can go to my Reels section on Instagram, nothing but CSS critiques, pretty much. And it's the Stu Smith 50 address for both TikTok and Instagram. You can find some really good videos on what to do as well as what not to do. You might fall into one of those categories of what you really need to see. But if you really want specific feedback, send me a video. A lot of people just send them through Instagram DMs, or as long as it's less than a minute, and or they send them by email and like Google Docs or something. Um, so yeah, but if you guys stuck around this long, I appreciate it. If you're looking for something to train with that's specific to your goals, check in with me. You can go to stewsmithfitness.com, check out all the titles there. There's over 40 different books, and use compete 20 code, save 20%. Yep. And I will be back tomorrow. So once again, I appreciate your time, and we'll see you tomorrow. Have a good one.